Houston, our instruments are showing that we have a incoming message from deep space. Repeat, Houston, we have an incoming message from deep space. Houston, we'll begin playing message now. Houston, we're going to try and translate that up here. Hold for translation. Translation complete. We'll begin playing message now.
Hey, it's me, Melissa.
What do you do when the aliens invade? Take a shot of MK Ultra and watch Melissa Jade. Put on your tinfoil hat and tune right in. We got that crime spree, flat earth theories, government conspiracies, a complex Mandela effects, unidentified objects, a mind expanding, fake moon landing, what are dolphins understanding? It's me, Melissa. It's me, Melissa. Aliens is on the sun or in Area 51. Time travels, unravels, haunted castles, cops are baffled, full potential experimental thoughts that make you transcendental. It's me, Melissa. It's me, Melissa. Crime sprees, flat earth theories, government conspiracies, complex Mandela effects, unidentified objects, a mind expanding, fake moon landing, what are dolphins understanding? It's me, Melissa. It's me, Melissa.
Hello, everybody. Hey, Sofla Mama. How are you, darling? Hey, Rena. Hey, Dick Buffet. Yes, an earlier live. I just got home, but I am here. Hello, Shaven Nay. So lovely seeing you. Hey, Amber, Eddie, Danielle Marie. We got Adoption Mommy and Dippity Doo. K-Braze. Hi, guys. How are you? Hi, Diana. Long time no see. Hey, Pointer Lover, Bryn, Wolfie. Hi, Cool Gamer, Q Joe. Hi. All of my favorite people. How are you guys? Happy Monday. Okay, so we're gonna jump right into it. Today we had the Bryan Kohberger. There was actually two. There was the arraignment. Hey, Dakota Parker. There was the arraignment. And then there was the hearing regarding the media. Oh, I get it. I felt like I needed a break after Letitia, and I was kind of forced into it a little bit, but now I'm like trying to like jump back into things. So obviously I post on my community tab, and I'm sure that you guys have heard. So when it came time for Bryan to enter his plea, whether it be guilty or not guilty, Ann Taylor immediately stood up and said, "We will be standing silent." Now, fuck yeah, Shaven A. I love it. So what that means, what does that mean? Okay. So you have three options, actually. It's not just guilty or not guilty. You can stand silent. Hey, Marcus. And so, oh, where'd you go? I just want to go on vacation in the first place. So lucky you. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Um, so what standing silent means is that you're neither entering a guilty nor not guilty plea, and the judge will automatically enter your plea as not guilty. Now, you could ask, well, why would he do that? Oh, congratulations, Dick. You guys, Dick's getting married. Everybody congratulate Dick in the chat. Love and marriage goes together like horse and carriage. No? Okay. Well, congratulations. That's amazing, Dick. Are you still going to be a dick buffet, or are you going to be a dick table for one? Like, what's going on? Either way, congratulations. That is amazing. Okay. So what does this mean? What does this mean, right? Yeah, I'd love to meet Mrs. Dick one day. So it doesn't mean really much. Like, what does this mean legally? Not much. So, Mama, are you gonna have a dick buffet at your wedding? That would be amazing. Hi, that Michelle. So lovely seeing you. Only she gets the bet. Okay, fair enough. Is it one price? Like, all right, never mind. Hey Tony. So hi Connie, how are you? Okay. So let me pull up. Let me pull this up. Okay. All right. Hi, sarcastic to you. Right, Sofla Mama. And I have I have some opinions on why that might be. But let me read this article for you guys. So, hi, Jamie, Texas chick. So we have Bryan Kohberger standing silent and what it means for the Idaho murders case. I was like shocked because he's such an anal control freak and a criminal PhD student. Well, Sofla Mama, that might be exactly why, right? That could be, even though I really think that this is Ann Taylor telling him exactly what to do, but is part of that control, right? That you will not control me and I will not even succumb to entering a plea. Yes, Amber. So the bind, torture, kill BTK also stood silent, which is interesting to me because it's not common and they have connections. Right. So they already have a couple of correlations with one another, right? We've talked about BTK a lot regarding the Idaho 4 case and Bryan Kohberger. We've heard from BTK's daughter throughout this. So it is interesting, coincidental, that they both stood silent. Also, we found out that they're going to need 4 to 6 weeks to do this trial, which is set on October 2nd. Conveniently, that would land it at November 22nd, if I'm not mistaken, for it to end. And it's just, I was surprised with how quick this is going, actually. So we have Bryan Kohberger stood silent during his arraignment hearing on Monday, allowing the judge to enter a not guilty plea in the University of Idaho killings case. During the hearing, Kohberger's public defender, Ann Taylor, said that the 28-year-old was standing silent when asked if he'd like to enter a plea. Judge John Judge, which is what a name, right? Judge, said, I'm going to enter not guilty pleas on each charge, counts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Kohberger was indicted last week by a grand jury on 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of felony burglary in connections with the killings last November of the 4 University of Idaho students. The killings prompted a widespread manhunt by the Moscow, Idaho Police Department and other law enforcement agencies, which eventually led to Kohberger's arrest at his parents' residence in Pennsylvania in December. Afterward, his former attorney said that his client was eager to be exonerated. Kohberger, okay, this is all repetitive. So during Monday's arraignment hearing, Kohberger was read the charges and answered yes to many questions asked by the judge, such as if his name, birthday, and social security number were listed correctly on the indictment. Kohberger also answered yes when asked if he understood all of the charges and the maximum penalty for each. For the murder charges, the judge said that the maximum penalty could be life in prison or the death penalty. He also said the prosecution will have 60 days to seek the death penalty if it wishes to do so. The judge also announced that the trial date is set for October 2nd. In a previous story before the arraignment, Michael McLaughlin, a former federal prosecutor and elected state attorney, told Newsweek, now that the case is based on an indictment and the entry of a plea, the state's pursuit of the death penalty or not needs to be addressed within 60 days. He continued, while the case is proceeding as if it were a death penalty case, including having death penalty qualified defense counsel, it's important and required to engage in the formality of filing. So that didn't really get too much into what exactly. Yeah. Hey, British Chippy. All right. So hold on. No. Okay. I'll just read this one more and then we'll get into it. Oh, really, British? Oh, that's so funny. Okay. So, onlookers, family members of the victims, and people around the world waited with bated breath for the Moscow murders suspect to plead guilty or not guilty to the charges against him. Is it still circling? Hold on, it is still circling for you guys. Hold on. Okay. But he didn't do either. Instead, he chose to stand silent. Remaining silent does not mean that a suspect is admitting guilt to the crimes they are accused of committing. Rather, it simply means the judge will enter a not guilty plea to the charge or charges the suspect is facing. Here is what remaining silent means for the suspect and the case. I'm not reading all of the repetitive information. Okay. At an arraignment, a suspect is asked to enter a plea of guilty or not guilty, which are the only pleas recognized in the state of Idaho. However, a suspect can also choose to stand silent or stand mute. According to Cornell Law School, remaining silent means the suspect does not take a stance on being guilty or not guilty. They simply refrain from speaking. If a suspect refuses to enter a plea or decides to stand silent, the court must enter a not guilty plea on the suspect's behalf. The right for a suspect to remain silent is protected by the Fifth Amendment of the United States Constitution, which protects defendants from self-incrimination. It can't be said for sure why Kohberger made the decision to stand silent at his arraignment. However, there are several reasons why he or any other defendant would choose to do so. The Fifth Amendment in the U.S. Constitution protects a defendant regardless of whether they are guilty or innocent. In fact, a defendant's refusal to testify or decision to stand silent can't be used against them during the trial. It is important to note that Kohberger's decision to stand silent does not mean he is admitting guilt to the crimes. It simply means that the court is now responsible for entering a not guilty plea on his behalf. Now that a not guilty plea has been entered for all 5 charges against Kohberger, he will now stand trial for the murders. His trial is scheduled to begin on October 2nd, 2023 at 8:30 a.m. A trial date being set also means the prosecution has 60 days to officially declare whether they intend to seek the death penalty in this case. So let me tell you what my thoughts are. I think this is not Bryan. This is Anne. I think Anne is a boss ass bitch, and I think she's coming to play ball. And I think she is going to advise Bryan to say nothing. Nothing. Just like any lawyer would, right? And so by standing silent and by allowing the judge to enter the plea of not guilty means that Bryan literally never said, I am guilty or I am not guilty. I am not going to get trapped in my plea, basically. That is how I take it, is it leaves them room with their defense because he never said one way or the other. He's not saying shit. So if down the road they kind of need to go in a different direction, maybe, right? Because if he comes out not guilty, that the defense has to build a case in one way. Obviously, he can't do guilt. It's. I feel like they don't want to get hung up on the words. Hi, Stephanie Morrison. They can't tell you what to do, but they absolutely can advise you, J Lord. Well, Corinne, basically, ever since she hopped on board, he's getting the dream team together. Do you guys not see that? They're getting the dream team. And Ann Taylor said, I'm going to need 4 to 6 weeks. I'm going to need 4 to 6 weeks. And they're getting private investigators. They're getting that woman who solved America's Most Wanted case or got the charges off. Like, they are getting the dream team, which tells me they are coming for a fight. They're coming to play ball. So this is not going to be, oh, well, we're just, this isn't going to be a Dr. Dorothy Lewis defense. This isn't going to be a Vallow lack of defense. This is going to be, we are coming to play fucking ball. So buckle up, buttercups, because here we come. Hey, Mike. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. J Lord, you're telling me that you don't think that his attorney would sit down with him, said, hey, these are your options. Our options are to go not guilty, guilty, or stand silent. My opinion, the best way to go about this would be stand silent. But obviously, you could enter whatever plea you'd like. That's all he needs to hear. You know what I mean? I have a feeling also by not, that's what I was saying. Well, like they're there, like they can't tell you what to do. At the end of the day, it's your own fucking, the same way with the Letitia trial, right? Letitia, you can take this stand. It doesn't matter if your lawyers disagree. They don't want you to. It does not matter. But at the end of the day, I'm sure her lawyers discussed it with her. They're there to advise you, but ultimately you make your own decision. So, oh man. Listen, J Lord, I'm sure technicalities, are they supposed to do this? Maybe. But I like, what are the chances that you think a lawyer isn't going to discuss and advise their client what direction is the best direction. Oh, thank you so much, Jordan. I 100% think he's guilty, but he'll fight for sure. See, what I think is going to happen also. What if he can't plead guilty or not guilty because it's both? What if it's both? What if I have a level of guilt and I have association to these crimes, but I am not guilty of what you're charging me with? You know what I'm saying? Like, I have a level of involvement. I can't plead one way or the other because I'm somewhere in the middle type of deal. Do you guys think that's a possibility? Absolutely. He deserves the best defense he could get, Sofla Mama. I don't know, Shabanai, but let's say, because I was just thinking, what if their entire defense is based off of, well, there's a few different options. He wasn't the only one. He was there but didn't commit the crimes. It was supposed to be one thing and it escalated into another with another person's involvement. Something like that, where, hey, we're not going to plead not guilty because you aren't completely not guilty, but we're not going to plead guilty either because you're not fully guilty. So we're going to just shut the fuck up and wait till trial to present our side of the story type of deal. I know, but I'm saying, I know that. I'm just trying to think of how defense is working, though. I'm not talking about like, well, like, yes, he would still be guilty, but by not having Bryan say shit and not, like, you have to realize Bryan is not saying one way or the other. That is why they're standing silent, in my opinion, is out of Bryan's mouth, he never said he was not guilty. He never said he was guilty. He didn't say shit, and that was the best way to go about it. That way, when they bring their defense, and maybe their defense is still in the works of building, they're not stuck in his plea totally because he never entered a plea. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. His lawyers absolutely told him to shut up. And honestly, I think that probably was a smart strategy from the defense side. Bryan, shut the fuck up. You don't say a word. They obviously intended to plead not guilty, but guess what? We're also able to plead not guilty while getting away with you not saying a word. It works out, right? It's like, hey, you have two ways to plead not guilty. You say you're not guilty, or you just continue to not say a goddamn word, and you'll automatically get not guilty anyway. It's right, Corey. It's best not to speak. So from a defense standpoint, yeah, makes sense. Well, then, Wolfie, if that's the case, why would that even be an option? Right. I don't know. Maybe she just didn't want it coming out of Bryan's mouth. I think, like I said, I think she's coming to play ball, and she doesn't want Bryan to say a word. Possibly, I've heard that too, Mike, that by doing this, somehow it opens the door with something with the death penalty, but I'm not sure. I got home. I said, I'm here to help you. I think Bryan arrived in his old police academy uniform or a security guard, hence how he got in home. Why you said it, I'm here to help you. I'm not sure about that, but I respect your opinion. Hey, Angie Erickson. Yes, Wolfie. Ah! She's getting paid $200 an hour, K-Breeze. But she's a public defender. She said 4 to 6 weeks, yeah. There's a reason. And like I said, I think it just makes sense. Why would you have him speak if he doesn't need to speak? It may be something very minor, something just like, hey, I don't want you to speak if you don't have to speak. Or maybe there's something bigger at play. All I know is that they're getting the dream team together for Bryan, and they're suiting up. So then the hearing for the media dissemination was going on, and basically the Gonsalves lawyer, like there was 2 issues. Like the Gonsalves lawyer wanted to be able to speak on behalf of his clients, and then the media themselves are doing like they want this gag order to loosen up. So we have another hearing on, I think it's June 9th, to determine what they're going to do regarding the gag order. But something that the judge did not pronounce Kaylee's name right the entire time. The state, Jordan. Hey, Chris Melcher. He kept saying Kayla Gonsalves, Kayla, and he mispronounced, I think, Xana's last name. And that's annoying, right? Like, get the name right, get the names of the victims right. I'm expecting a lot, Danielle. I really, really, really am expecting a lot. I've read that 1, it appeases the family and it shows some sort of remorse. 2, it leaves it open. If the death penalty is sought, he can plead guilty with the deal to remove. Right, that's a great option too. Thank you, Honoring Sub, and welcome. It leaves that door open regarding the death penalty. Yeah, the judge did not even get the victims' names correct, which is unfortunate. I don't think he was there posing as security, but I could totally understand. I've heard a few people think, theorize something along those lines. I did, Samantha Barry, and we're going to get into that now. Hey, JD Wells. An article came out earlier on JD Wells. It might have even come out in court. That she's being paid $200 an hour, and then her assistant was $175 an hour, I believe. It had come out earlier on, months ago. It was, Jordan. It was their lawyer. I don't think so much wants it lifted versus they want to be able to speak on behalf of their clients. I don't personally think so, Vanessa J, because with Bundy, he was taking the lead. He was his defense. I think Bryan is listening to Ann Taylor. Listen, she's running the show. She knows what she's doing, and I think he's just listening. I know. Judge Warner had the best voice. Okay, so the other thing to discuss is the Dateline episode. And we got a lot to unpack regarding the Dateline episode. So did Corinne give them a membership? Thank you so much, Corinne. That's so kind. And congratulations to anybody who got it. So the Dateline episode. There's a lot to unpack with that. I love me some Keith Morrison. I love Keith Morrison. I love Bill Hader's impression of Keith Morrison. I've been watching Keith Morrison since I was a wee little lass, okay? But I don't put too much weight into everything we heard. So some of the things we heard was it was Bryan's own family who suspected Bryan, that they already were on guard when they heard about the car. And then on Christmas, Bryan was wearing gloves within the home, that they were suspicious enough to where they physically went out and checked his car. They said it smelled like bleach. And so when they raided the house, the family wasn't too surprised. I also saw something about how the agents almost accidentally hit Bryan. That Bryan was taking out the garbage and putting it in the neighbor's trash at one point, and they almost accidentally hit him. Oh, thank you, Corinne. Hey, Nays. So they also said, which, okay, well, let me start with that really quick. Where would they get this information? Because up until now, Bryan's family has been completely tight-lipped. As far as I know, Bryan's family was not in the courtroom today, but that doesn't mean for me necessarily that, oh, yeah. They're, they're the one who gave the information to the Dateline people. How did they get this information? What were their sources? Well, from what I don't know, K-Braze. It seems like the more suspicion came on after he arrived home, but they said in the Dateline episode, as soon as they heard the car, it alerted them, type of deal. Where would they get this information? Unless it is somebody who is close with the family and that person is leaking the information, I do not imagine Bryan's family directly is giving this information over. So again, do not think that just because it's something as big as Dateline, that it necessarily has to be true. We've seen it many, many times. Look at Ashley Banfield. I love Ashley Banfield, but it's a joke. She's getting her information from YouTube channels. She's in the same Facebook group as us, and a lot more times than not, the information is not accurate. Now, sometimes it is, but most of the time it's just rumor and speculation. So, Danielle, something else they said is they got confirmation that Bryan bought that exact knife and sheath. They said that Bryan ordered that exact K-bar style knife off of Amazon months prior to his move to Pullman. Now, even if that were true, that doesn't mean it's the knife. It could be, that would be very coincidental if it wasn't. But let's be fair here. He very well could have bought that exact knife. Doesn't mean it's the knife that was used. But again, it circles me back around to how would they know that? Now, I know how investigators would know that, right? You subpoena all the records and all of his purchases, no problem. But unless there is a leak, and there is a very strong gag order in place. So unless there is a leak by someone higher up giving this information to Dateline, how do they know it? Because that is a big, big allegation or claim. I apologize. Claim to make. Right. It's those inside sources. Hey, Yorkie. And you know what, Joanne? And that's where it sucks because listen, leaks happen. Okay. So it's not like there's no possibility that someone can be leaking information. But a lot, it doesn't necessarily mean there's a link, Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean by with Banfield. I've watched Banfield say, sources, and then she'll cite something that's in the damn IDAHO group. If the information is indeed accurate, then yes, there would have to be a leak. But I don't see why anybody would risk damaging this case, especially that Bryan is bringing in expert testimony against the media to show how damaging the media is. And guess what? He's not wrong. Put aside our feelings, right? You gotta respect due process, and you have to respect the fact that he deserves the right to a defense. Now, can you imagine, just take for a second and imagine if Bryan wasn't guilty? Like, he legit wasn't guilty. There's a completely rational explanation of why his car was there. Do you think Bryan could ever live a normal life? No. We've already deemed him guilty in the court of public opinion. So already Bryan has expert testimony coming in because the damage media is doing. And it's true, because I'm telling you, 90% of the news reports out there, or the YouTube channels, or News Nation, or this or that, it's not accurate information, guys. It's not accurate information. I used to think, oh, if it was on the news, it has to be vetted, right? It has to be verified. It has to be true. Wrong. I personally saw these articles and these news stations getting key details of cases wrong. And I was like, holy shit. I couldn't believe it. They are almost worse with the gossip and the rumors than YouTube channels are. It's a problem if these News Nation, on mainstream media is coming out and they're using YouTubers' information and Facebook groups as their sources. Because that's what's happening. Freedom of speech, because not much is being censored in social media until it becomes a problem one side. Right. So I don't disagree with Bryan making this fight about the damages like he is already tried in the court of public opinion and he is guilty. And I think that we do need to do better. Because the shit that's being covered, the things that are being said, the crap about the Bailey girl, you guys, come on, please don't be fooled. There are some people, creators, anchors, whatever you want to call them, when there is no story, they have to make a story. Unless you have to remember, there's no difference between a creator and you as a subscriber, except we press go live. We don't have any magical information that you don't. Sometimes will we have like a source come to us? Absolutely, you know, once in a while. But everything going on with the Bailey girl, no, I don't think, no. No. Oh, yeah, Emma Bailey, yes. Like, if there isn't a story, they have to make a story. And if you don't think they're doing that to keep you in, keep pulling you in as the viewer, to keep their cash flow going and to keep their channel growing, you are wrong. You are sadly mistaken. I'm all about falling deep down the rabbit hole, but you got to make connections. And just because a creator can word it really well and like say it in a tone of the voice that sounds very convincing doesn't mean shit. You have to kind of remove all of that fluff and look at the actual connections. Yes, Emma Bailey had connections to at least one of the people at the King Road residence. Yes, she has a history with drugs and there was a death surrounding. But where is the connection to the killings? Where is the connection to the killings? The only thing that you proved is that there was a girl who ran in the circle that fucked around with drugs and there was an OD at one point. That doesn't correlate to the King Road killings at all. You're making something there that doesn't exist. Hey, Carol Claus. Yeah, no, they found the sheath still in bed with Maddie and Kaylee. They were looking for the knife though. So, Dateline made the claims, right, creating their own narrative and not caring what this does to those people. Think about how many people in this case alone got implicated. It was Jack, and then it was the other Jack, and then it was the, neighborhoody guy, then it was this person, then it was that person, then it was like, come on. These are real people with real impacts and real damages. Insane, Cujo. An insane amount. But what I want, like, the subscribers to be aware of is that the creators know it's clickbait. They know what they're doing. It's only about to get you to click on, get the view, money in their pocket, super chat, putting on membership only for a very exclusive interview. Yeah, they're playing the game, okay? But don't be fooled. You really don't know any less than a creator knows. I agree. It's not even the creators that blow my mind. It's the amount of subscribers that I see believe it. Believe it. Without seeing any evidence, without putting the connections together themselves, they just take it at a face value that a creator says and they run with it. And this is what I mean by we need to do better. We need to do better. Because dragging every innocent person through the dirt just to make a clickbait story out of it isn't right. Making connections that don't exist isn't right. Blaming the fucking cartel? Come on. Come on. Me too, Nace. Okay. So Keith Morrison says that they have the information regarding the K-bar. Knife and sheath bought on Amazon months prior to his move to Pullman. And they basically were saying that it was bought prior because he has to become familiar with the knife. That this killing was made to go up close and personal. They kind of had the theory that I had in the beginning where it was Kaylee or Maddie was the target coming downstairs. Xana, awake on TikTok, ordered food, somehow crossed paths with Bryan. Xana got killed. Bryan stumbled upon Ethan, who he did not know was staying over for the night, in bed, killed Ethan. There was also claims of Papa Rogers, and people are putting a lot of validity into Papa Rogers potentially being Bryan. No. I've told you guys this way in the past. No. I don't think Papa Rogers is Bryan. Papa Rogers, if you don't know, there's the massive main IDAHO Facebook group. And there was an account called Papa Rogers in there who was making a lot of posts prior to some of the information coming out. Welcome, Cujo. Thank you so much for becoming a member, and I appreciate your support. Shay, he knew a couple of things, right, prior to law enforcement releasing that information. The main thing being he made a post saying that he could assume that they found the sheath, given that they already know what kind of knife that they were stabbed with. That was before law enforcement released that they did find the sheath. If it wasn't for that fucking post, I don't think anybody would be putting any validity into Papa Rogers. That's what I thought too, Joanne. Right, exactly. Turquoise, I'd have to pull up the documents, but it wasn't a K-bar. Yeah. So he made the comment that was like the main thing of what really made Papa Rogers gain momentum was him mentioning that they most likely have the sheath prior to it publicly being said that they found the sheath. I'd have to see it again, Shay. The speculation of the sheath happened in the first week because they had a specific knife they were seeking out. Right. And so if you are someone who is familiar with knives, is that really a leap of a thing to guess? The same way that I know personally of a lot of people who said they thought Kaylee and Maddie were sleeping in the same bed way before that came out. Way before that came out. But because his account was deactivated after Bryan was arrested, but I swear I remember he made one post after Bryan was arrested saying that, dude, I'm not Bryan. Not everything is a big... I mean, sometimes you land on a situation where there's some type of crazy connection, but I just don't think this is it. I just think that this is someone in the Facebook group under an alt account and happened to get a couple of things right. Right, Rich? So stupid. What else? Who else watched the Dateline episode? I didn't get to take notes because I wasn't home this weekend, but it was the sheath. I was the Amazon purchase. It was his sister was the one who was suspicious of him. He was wearing gloves inside the house at Christmas. His family searched his car. It smelled like bleach. Is there anything else that I'm not remembering? Oh yeah, I it's possible, Turquoise, and that's what I'm saying. Sometimes there is some crazy connection, but I don't like when the jump is made when there isn't evidence to base it on. Oh yes, thank you, J Lord. Okay, so then there was another. I don't know if it was a friend of Bryan, but there was a girl who explained that her apartment had been broken into. She never called and conveniently, she never called and reported it to the police though, because nothing was missing, but she was scared. So Bryan had come over and installed cameras, but Bryan had all of her login and Wi-Fi and all of her information. Okay. So what are you saying? Are you trying to claim that Bryan was watching you through the cameras? Is there any evidence? Because you're telling me someone broke into your place and you didn't call the police. That's already a red flag for me. I'm sorry. I don't believe, unless there is proof and evidence. I have seen so many freaking liars that I just do not take it at face value. I need, the moment you tell me you didn't report it to the police, I'm already like, is this true? Do you have any messages between you and Bryan confirming he did indeed come over, that this happened? Oh, that's not a leaf that I got his knife from Amazon. I'm asking how they, who's their source. It would have to be a leak. So she made a claim, there's this claim, and they're trying to make you believe that Bryan is all, ooh, and he's spying through the cameras, but there's no evidence to back that up. Like, don't forget that this is made to be entertaining. Okay? That person is making a guess. She never caught Bryan spying. If this is indeed true, she's just admitting that someone broke into her house. She never called the cops. Bryan came and installed the camera equipment, and he had all of the login information, which, guess what? Shame on you. You're stupid. Why did you, after getting broken into, you had someone come and install the cameras, and you didn't you let them have all of your logins and passwords? Well, but do you have any proof that he did anything? Did you have any proof he's spying? Do we have any proof this even happened? I'm not sure, Shelly. I'm trying to think what else. It was like an hour and a half episode, but it was really just like 5 bullet points. Exactly, 87. And again, I'm not defending him versus majority of this shit is just gossip, rumor, and speculation. No, I think she was friends with him, if I'm not mistaken. Please, somebody correct me in the chat if I am. But he didn't work. No, he just came over and helped her install. But conveniently, nothing is documented. She never called the cops. So if it's true that Bryan's family was suspicious of him, that's very interesting. If they went out and physically checked the vehicle, that's interesting. If they really do know that Bryan purchased the exact K-bar knife with the sheath, and that sheath is no longer around, it's interesting. But I don't take it at, I'm not going to say, that's it. We know he bought it. No, don't. And you guys shouldn't either. Just keep it in the back of your mind. Well, Dateline alleges that he did buy it, but we just don't take it for certain because we really don't know. She befriended him and her apartment was broken in and things moved around. So Bryan advised and helped her. Yeah. So we do know that ID cards were found in a glove in a box. I don't think it was in his glove box. I think it was on his persons, like at his parents, if I'm not mistaken. But they said that, I don't even know if this was the Dateline episode. It wasn't the victims. It was of two girls, but it was not the victims. It was here, turquoise. That's what I thought. I thought it was ID cards in a glove in a box, and that was among the items collected within his parents' residence. Ava. I know, Rich. A lot of times you guys can hear me when I'm actually moving my hands. I talk a lot with my hands, obviously. And so I'm sure it comes through on your guys' side. Yeah, logical. In the Dateline episode, that was implied. And welcome. So they're saying that the ID cards were IDs of two women, but it was not the victims. So I think they're opening that door for this isn't his first kill. Which again, I just think these are massive leaps. I think these are massive leaps. I'm not sold. I do not have my mind made up. Dick. I don't have my mind made up. I'm not sold yet. I think Bryan absolutely was involved somehow. I just don't know what or how much, the level of involvement. Was there more to the story? Was there somebody else involved? I don't know. Exactly, Gabriel. Well, that's what 87. I'll tell you exactly why, like, mainstream media and YouTube channels do it. They do it for money and clicks. That's why they do it. I told you guys a long time ago, I'm not gonna go live and bring you bullshit just to get you to click on. Like, I promise I will bring you the information, but I'm not gonna give you bullshit information when there's no information. I'm gonna just let you know there's no information, And I'll mention something that might be rumored to be going on, but like if the same creator and stuff is going live with some breaking news headline, and oh my God, you look at this, there's a reason. Speculate that it could be survivors just from, I know, Dick, right? We got to do a Dick and Willie episode because it's been forever and so much has happened. Now Brian's family will have known and planned it like the Laundrie's parents watch, right? Shay. You think so, Naze? I saw a couple of people saying that. Implying that it's dangerous to walk that line. People just seem to say whatever they want these days. Right, and that's what I'm saying. Like, Brian's argument about the media and bringing in expert testimony, I don't disagree with him. Even if he's guilty, I don't disagree with him because everybody deserves the right for a fair trial and due process. And there's a difference between the media covering facts and, okay, you want to speculate and theorize a bit, that's fine, as long as you're stating that this is speculation and theorizing. What I don't agree with is coming out and blaming every Dick and Harry, not you, Dick Buffet, but every Dick and Harry out there and putting together things that aren't there and blaming people, potentially ruining their lives, putting them in danger for your own benefit. Well, we will find out at the next hearing. Hi, Mama Bear. Yeah. Well, and like, listen, we all unconsciously are biased that way, right? We want justice for these victims so desperately. We didn't know Brian's name from a hole in the wall when they made that arrest. But the moment he was charged with these crimes, do not tell me that we all didn't immediately go, oh shit, fuck you. How could you do this? You're guilty. XYZ. Because you're just so angry and you want so desperately for the victims to get their justice that once they have someone, you're like, good, nail them to the cross. But really, we need to keep an open mind and accept that they are innocent until proven guilty. And guess what? If they are guilty, you have nothing to worry about. It will all come out. Right. It is. It is. And you know what? I heard that in the Hi NT's Apple Bottom Jeans. I heard that in Kaylee's dad, Steve Gonsalves's newer interview. Oh, thank you, Maria. Right, exactly. Exactly, Tony. Up until Brian was arrested, it was Jack. It was Jack D. It was Jackass. It was Hoodie Guy. It was this person. It was that person. It was every person until it was Brian. And again, I'm not trying to sit here and say he's innocent. I'm just saying people, like, we need to do better. But I was going to say something. I don't remember what I was going to say now. Right. Yeah, that's true. See, with Kim, when it comes to Kim and then the newer Dave guy, it's your birthday too, Dick? Wait a second. So you got engaged and it's your birthday, you guys. Happy birthdays to Dick in the chat. Dick, happy birthday. Congratulations. Oh my goodness, this is a good day for Dick. So, right. Right. Everybody remembers the accusation. Nobody remembers clearing it up, right? Or the apology. Or I was wrong. Oh, thank you, Just Me. That's so sweet. I have thought maybe the sheep DNA was a step to the real DNA. And prosecution wants it held till trial so defense can't use the touch DNA against them. Just a thought. Well, the genealogy is separate from the DNA. The genealogy testing. Okay, so Shay. It's a good day for Dick, ladies and gentlemen. So with Kim and this new guy Dave. One, I'm sorry you I'm gonna tell you guys this now. When it's the same couple of channels that always are having the bombshell inside sources, that should make you question something, right? Because how is it every time there is a person directly connected with all this information, they always happen to land on the same one or two channels to give their story? But when it comes to Kim, I told you, we verified she is who she says she is. She is a WSU mom who has 2 children who attend the college. But just because you could verify she is who she says she is doesn't mean you could verify the information she's giving is accurate. Because it's clickbait bullshit. And there is a large portion of people who don't really care if it's accurate or not. They just want to be entertained, right? When you go live and you have this scandalous story of how it all makes sense and the connections and this person, that, people are going to tune in like it's a fucking soap opera. They don't really give a fuck if it's true or not. And that's why I'm like, you don't belong on my channel, because if you're like that, I don't want you here. I want people who, even if I say it, go fact check it yourself. Verify it. Don't just take my fucking word for it. Guess what? Sometimes there is no news. Sometimes there is no breaking connection here and there. Sometimes it is just what it is. Hey, King Scarlet News. So Kim, hi Snot Rocket. With Kim, I do believe there's a nugget of truth underneath all of that rambling and nonsense. I think there's a nugget of truth. I'm so sorry, Turquoise. Hi, T. Adams. The nugget of truth that I think Kim is saying is people knew prior to 911 being called. There was talk within the sororities and the fraternities. I don't think they knew specific details. I just think they knew something happened at the King Road house. Yeah, whatever the fuck happened with Justin? Remember those bombshell interviews with Justin? And the whole trans stuff and Dylan and selling of the kidneys, and you remember. It's the same creators interviewing these people, put it together, Follow the bouncing ball, shall we? So with Kim, I think that part is the only part I am inclined to believe is true. There was talk among the campuses because friends were summoned prior to 9. And guess what? I'm basing that nugget of truth off of fact, right? Fact. What we know as fact. Because when you speculate, you need to speculate based off of fact. If you speculate based off of speculation, where is that going to get you? Very far off. And that's what I was going to say. So, and I back it off also because we heard from Kaylee's own mom explain that she heard from her niece who heard from somebody on campus that they were shot. So I am inclined to believe that word got out and it was playing the game of telephone. They probably didn't know what injuries. That's why the speculation, oh, overdose, oh, shot, oh, stabbed, oh, somebody did that, because they didn't know. But word of mouth travels very fast. And we do know friends were summoned prior to 911 being called. And given that friends were summoned tells me there was communication going out. You contact 2 people, those 2 people contact 2 people, those 2 people contact 2 people, and within a moment you have a network of 100 people being notified. So I think she took that little nugget, that little nugget, and somehow used it to jump up on panels and have this elaborate story that there's no way she would know. No matter what name you mention to Kim, she somehow knows exactly who you're talking about and somehow has the inside scoop. I have been following a bit of what Kim has been saying since she first originally spoke out. And her story is ever evolving. And when I say that, I'm not so much saying that it's changing, like the main narrative is remaining the same. But what I'm saying is every time there's a new player who comes on the scene, Kim absolutely, oh yes, well, they were involved too, because how? You didn't mention their name 2 months ago, but somehow when we mention this new name, you have some type of connection. No way. No way, Jose. Right. And hey, Crime Curious, and if we are to take you at face value, if we are to believe what you are telling us, you're saying that the real killers are out there. And what you're telling me is you are taking information your child is trusting you with, and you are going live time after time after time again, blasting all this private business, putting your children in danger. And let's even step aside from the danger for a fact. How do you think your child's sorority sisters or your son's fraternity brothers are going to feel that their mother is ratting everything out all over the internet? That is how I know it is bullshit. Because if you were being legitimate and honest, and you really knew that the killers were out there and it wasn't just Bryan was a getaway driver, you would never, ever, ever, as a mother, you would never risk your child's safety for hopping up on panels time and not once, not twice. She has been on countless amount of panels, countless amount of times, countless amount of different creators telling these stories. So you're telling me those killers who are out there are totally fine, that you have your name out there, you're letting everybody know who your children are, and what? You're not worried that they're going to come and shut you up? Nah, that is not a mother who is concerned for their child. So this is what I mean. I think there's a nugget of truth. I think the nugget of truth is she was told by her daughter that she had heard about something earlier on in the morning, that she had heard whatever at around 9 a.m. And Kim knows, well, cops weren't called till hours later. And that was enough to all of a sudden start snowballing it, and it gained momentum and traction, and one thing after another kept building on top of it like a rolling snowball, and it was collecting more snow as it went. And sooner we got Frosty the Snowman over here. We got a huge fucking 3 big balls of bullshit. Exactly, Shay. I thought it was the same person at first. And the only reason I believe that nugget of truth could exist is because it's based off of facts that I know of. The facts are friends were summoned prior to 911 being called. The facts are there was a huge time gap from 911 being called. The facts are we heard from Kaylee's own mom say that she was notified by her niece, who was notified by somebody on campus. These are facts. It's a big fucking snowball of bullshit. That's what it is. Big snowball of bullshit. To be fair, Jordan, I can't even properly relay to you what Kim's narrative is, because every time I listen to it, I literally feel like Alice going down that rabbit hole, and it's like, oh, where am I? What the fuck is happening? Did I just do a whippet? That is how I feel listening to Kim. But from what I gathered, it was some type of possibly owing money from a drug deal, and it was never supposed to be a killing, and they were supposed to just be scared. And you had some people who were the getaway drivers, some people who were the lookout. Dylan and Bethany were told to stay in the room because one of the people have a connect, and she named these people. You want to know what's messed up? She named these alleged killers. Who the fuck these are real people. These are real people. How do you throw their names out there like that? How dare you do that to them? How dare you put the weight of these murders, flat out name these young adults as being involved? So she said one of them has a connection to one of the surviving roommates and was told to stay in the room, and somehow it escalated to killing. And somehow Bryan is the only one who was arrested, but he was never in the house. And that the girls didn't call 911 right away because they had a discard of drugs and this and that and everything. Again, as a subscriber, because I'm a subscriber too, guys. I know it's entertaining because we all want the answers, but please do not fall for shit like this. Please take everything with massive grains of salt. Like a snowball full of shit size of salt. Take it with. Okay? I don't know what Kim's motive is. I think she just likes being relevant, right? And she happened to have a connection, and she happened to people, wanted her on. She clearly likes to speak. And, so you're giving her the attention that she wants, and that's that. Right. What's your sign? Exactly. Well, I do believe they knew more. And when I say that, I'm not trying to victim blame or victim bash. But, and I went on Allie's panel earlier to explain it, the PCA itself explains they were able to determine the time that the murders occurred based on testimony, footage, and the phone data of Dylan and Bethany. So if Dylan and Bethany were just sleeping, weren't doing anything, did not know anything, their phones would be inactive the same way of the other 4 victims were because they were deceased. But you're telling me, as per the PCA, you were able to determine the murders occurred based on the 2 surviving roommates' phone. Well, what does that tell me? That tells me there was communication. That tells me there was some type of messages going in and out saying possibly, yo, did you hear that? Did you hear that thump? What's going on up there? You know, yo, I just saw someone in the house. There was something going on. And you cannot convince me, Dylan, who already got up and walked to the door 3 times and was already on alert, did not hear the cries, the whimperings, the thumps, the dog barking that the camera on the house over 50 feet away managed to pick up. She was a few feet away, already on alert, getting up 3 times. She was able to hear somebody's here. She was able to hear, it's okay, I'm here to help you. But don't tell me you didn't hear the screams, the cries, the thuds, the dog barking. I do not believe she went back to sleep. I think Bethany possibly was asleep. I think Dylan was blowing Bethany up. Yo, what's going on? Are you awake? Yo, nobody's answering me. Some shit until Bethany did wake up. And then from there, they reached out to friends instead of law enforcement immediately. That doesn't mean they are guilty of the crime. That doesn't mean they're somehow more involved. But I definitely at the least think that they made a shitty response decision versus the decision that should have been made, which is calling law enforcement directly. Instead, there were messages sent to friends who then sent messages to friends and thereon and so on and so forth. And friends arrived to the residence prior to 911 being called. And that is why some people heard about something happening on King Road earlier prior to 911 being called. It was the rumor mill. No, nobody knew it was stabbings. It was a shooting at one point. It was an overdose at this point. They didn't know because it plays the game of telephone. That's what was happening. So that is my opinion based on fact, based on what we know. Oh, I'm getting loud. Michelle pulled the loud. Sorry. I get mad. We do not know. K-Braze, that is not, I can tell you rumors based on this post and that post, and the attempt was made to contact people, but that's not based on fact. All we do know is, as per the PCA, it specifically says the time that the murders occurred was able to be determined based on Dylan and Bethany's phone data. Analyzing their phones. So something was happening on their phones enough for them to say, hey, this is when the murders occurred. You want to know why? Because right here at 4:11 a.m., Dylan sends a text to Bethany saying, "Are you awake? Did you hear that?" That is what that would mean. There was something in the phones that was documenting what was going on. But no, that's... Hey, Lucia. No, I don't. That was, again, part of all of, like, the miscommunication and miss everything in the beginning. I believe when you call 911, yes, I am using I was actually using my fingers. I was slamming pretty hard. But when you call, even if you believe someone is deceased, the 911 dispatcher is going to send people out for an unconscious person because they aren't able to determine if that person is dead or not. They will not say, send the cops out, we have a dead person, because the person calling can't declare them deceased. So they are going to send them out as an unconscious person, unresponsive person. We had Steve, once the PCA came out, said, "Hey, listen, you got to lay off these girls. You have to realize when they walked in and saw what happened, they both went running out of the house. One passed out from what she saw, and the other was hyperventilating so much, she could not properly relay to the 911 dispatcher what was going on." Yet, that directly contradicts what they said in the press conference, which was friends were summoned prior to 911 being called. The 911 call was made from the surviving roommate's phone and from within the residence. Within the residence. So you can't have two girls who stumbled upon the scene and ran out in hysterics and called 911, because guess what? Friends were summoned first. It's simple as that. The 911 call is going to tell us everything. That is why they are not going to even give us a transcript. And when I say everything, I mean everything about what the scene was at the time. That is speculation, Samantha Berry. I believe it to be true, but I still need to clarify that has not been confirmed. It's still speculation. Exactly, Turquoise. Hey, Stephanie Christian. Ooh, my throat's starting to get scratchy. That's when I know I'm talking too loud. It upsets me. It took 8 hours to call 911. Friends were called first. I agree. Well, we're gonna get after the verdict. Yeah, if not played during the trial. Don't get your hopes up, guys. Not Hunter the friend, I believe, Tony, not the triplet. Hunter Johnson. I do not anticipate them streaming the trial live. What I anticipate is something similar to today's arraignment, where it happens live and then after they air it for us. And let's just hope we get video, because it could be like the Valo where we only get audio, and that makes a big difference. That's a loaded question, Kathleen. Like, what are you saying? Well, about what? I'm saying a lot. I'm not sure, but welcome. I agree that they were freaked out and took a while to even call 911, trying to get stories straight early on. They were scared that the police would blame them. What would you do? I can't tell you what I would do, right? And that would be wrong of me to sit here and be like, hey, this is exactly how I would handle this situation. I don't know. Everybody handles trauma differently. Everybody responds differently. And it's a situation that nobody should ever have to be in. But there was 2 of them. I do not believe that Dylan sat there in a frozen shock phase for 8 hours. I just don't. I think they handled it wrong. That doesn't mean that they had to have some involvement in the murders versus just being guilty of handling it wrong. Not calling 911 as soon as they knew something was wrong versus summoning friends. It wasn't, Stephanie. We had Letitia Stout, which was so amazing to be able to watch it in real time as it was happening. Look at the witnesses, watch the demeanors and the mannerisms. And then the Valo, where at the end of the day, you just get a lump of 8-hour audio with nothing to watch. It's not the same. That's absolutely possible. Logical. That's logical. On my expressway years ago where I live, we had a killer putting lights on in his car and a badge pulling over. Oh my gosh, I heard about something similar, Turquoise, happening years ago too. Exactly, Samantha Berry. There was something within the 2 surviving roommates' phones that let police know this is when the murders occurred. It could be something as simple as a text from Bethany, from Dylan to Bethany. Hey, are you awake? I think something's wrong. Bam. It could be something as simple as that. Or it could be more. Stephanie, I would just go and watch, because I was doing the Letitia Stout trial. It was way too much to do both. There literally wasn't enough hours in the day. But I would just watch Nate Eaton go live every night and do basically an hour recap of what happened that day in court. I don't know, Turquoise. It's terrifying, J-Lord. It happens a lot. It's terrifying. So, what do you guys anticipate? Do you guys... I don't even know what my question was. I think I just had a brain fart. I feel like maybe they convinced themselves they were overreacting, but were still too afraid to check on the roommate. It was finally enough that something had to be wrong. Right. That's possible. What you're saying, it could have even been Dylan and Bethany. It initiated with them texting each other, right? It could have been Dylan. This is what I think it could have been. I think it initially could have been Dylan who locked herself in the room because she saw Bryan, right? And she heard what she heard. And she may have been messaging all of the roommates, 4 of them. Well, not all of the, Ethan didn't live there, but texting the rest of the girls, what's going on? Are you guys okay? What was that noise? Nobody's answering. 3 of them didn't answer because they were no longer alive. Maybe she texted Ethan too. That would be 4. Bethany probably wasn't answering either if she was asleep. So I believe that hours could have passed where Dylan was freaking the fuck out because nobody was answering her. Then I think Bethany did respond. And Dylan could have been like, yo, what is going on? Nobody's answering me. This is what I saw. This is what I heard. This is what I experienced. And they both could have freaked out to the point where, oh, I don't want to leave the room. Well, I don't want to leave the room either. Well, let's call some, maybe, like Mikey Joe, whoever the fuck, come tell them to come over because I don't want to leave. And then they summon friends, find what they find, and call 911. Possibly something like that. I don't know. It very well could be, J Lord. Very well could be. So we have the hearing regarding the non-dissemination, the gag order. I'm pretty sure it's June 9th. And then we're going to trial, baby, October 2nd. And Mike, what I think is maybe the surviving roommates spoke to the family and the families have better answers, right? They have more information. We have to accept that we don't have all the information. We have to accept that come trial, all of these puzzle pieces may fit perfectly together and we could finally see the totality of the picture and it all makes sense. Yeah, V. Oakley, yep. No, Joanne, it won't. So, but I'll keep you guys posted with any developments and updates. You guys, October 2nd is going to be here before we know it. Think about how quick it was when he was arrested. We're like, we have to wait till June for a preliminary. Guess what? We would have already just been a couple of weeks away from the preliminary. Now we're going into trial, full-blown trial, October 2nd. And I believe we're going to find out if cameras are going to be allowed in the courtroom on June 9th. So I'm going to be live tomorrow. What I think I'm going to be doing tomorrow, though, is there's a couple of other interviews I found regarding Letitia Stout. Anybody who's followed this case with me, I still can't let it go yet. I haven't fully moved on. But I keep finding old things, but new things at the same time. And I wanted to go through that. And a couple of other new current cases going on. So I will be on tomorrow. Probably we'll be doing Tuesday trivia tomorrow night too. And so thank you all so much for being here with me. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for anybody who sent a super chat or gifted a membership. Your support means more than you know. And I hope you all have an amazing night. If you could hit the thumbs up on the way out, I would very much appreciate it. And I will see you all tomorrow. So have a great night.